Crazy show. Episode 8, though, is top-tier disturbed when Mort is so desperate for Julian's love that he convinces him he's secretly been his son all along. Mort then pretends to be a baby, and embraces it to the point that I think it might be yet another personality. It's uncanny and bizarre. When Julian asks Clover to be the mommy, she picks up Mort and his accent changes again when he calls her hard and bony. You guys were right. This show takes years off your life. I feel my soul just leeching away. This episode ends up doing crazy stuff, including a pageant Karen named Tammy who hypnotized her infant son, but the moral of this episode is this: Mort is actually older than King Julian is. We knew this before, but I want more explanation of this, and I just know I'll be getting some eventually. This show overall feels like one of those episodic comedies, but the writers have an absolutely phenomenal respect for continuity, better than some dramas I've seen. This makes it easier and deliberate. Commendable. But then in episode 9, Mort inhales Julian's aged toenail clippings to track him like a bloodhound. You know what's funny? Many times now I've made a joke when writing notes here, and then seconds later it happens in the episode. Just goes to show how off the wall this really is. It is as crazy as my craziest theories. Mort attacks the guy who kidnapped Julian in this episode and literally tears apart his face until he looks thrice his initial age. It can't even. In episode 10, Julian reaches down Mort's esophagus and pulls out a live butterfly and a skeletonized human arm. In the following episode, Mort is his usual chaotic self, but we also see a monkey from the USSR who crashed on Madagascar from outer space, and he's still alive. He then returns home where the USSR flags are still in full effect, meaning Madagascar might take place in the 80s. I need more before solidifying it though. In episode 12, Mort tries out to be Julian's rebound advisor after Maurice leaves. Mort pretends to be French, then sophisticated, and then really suggestive. He licks his finger and sizzles it on his buttock. Are these more personas? Well, the snazzy one wears the same wig as the Misery altar, so maybe? It's hard to tell as he admits he's faking it. In Julian's time of need, the pineapple's ghost reappears to him. Still unclear whether it's an advisor from the heavens, Julian's conscience, or something to do with the sky gods. I don't know. In episode 13, Mort once again pulls the mommy-daddy card on the main characters. Weird perspective. Episode 14 is relentlessly rife with religious commentary when the existence of the sky gods is finally questioned. Suddenly, one of the gods appears, but it's just a robotic ploy by Carl to kill Julian, so they build a counter-robot and Mort attacks back. Will we ever learn the truth of the supernatural? This show's having an identity crisis and it thinks it is The Leftovers. But, near the end, a massive cloud does fly down and immediately back up after raining and electrocuting, proving, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that these gods do exist. In episode 15, Mort becomes the face of Julian's new nightclub, Club Moist. He dances up on stage like a chick from the Roaring Twenties, singing about how Julian's feet make him weak, and everyone applauds Mort for being so moist. They rename him to Pork because he's tender, sweet, and smoky. He celebrates by raving about how he's a non-kosher meat. He attracts lemurs from all over the kingdom when he sings about bunions. This is another personality. I dare you to pull it up on Netflix and watch for yourself. Mort wishes to be used. Words from his own mouth. In the season 2 finale, Julian thinks he's dying, so Mort keeps giving him sponge baths and rectal thermometers. Onward to season 3, but be warned, everybody, this is when things start to actually get weird. What you've seen so far is literally nothing. Inappropriate messages abound about selling bodies, holes, and bloomers. The 2-part premiere follows everyone saving Julian again, who's been kidnapped by pirates this time. Mort, as per the usual, tracks with conviction so intense he eats Julian's footprints. He organizes a battle plan as if he's some sort of warlord, maybe another persona. When they find the ship, all of the other pirates recognize Mort as Dread Pirate Mort, the nemesis of this ship's captain. Last they met, they were fighting for the love of Empress Galeria off the jagged coast of Fouche. He has a painting of the battle on his wall at home, and he screams, "For Galeria," before owning the other captain. Mort calls the other pirates mere children and doesn't object to the notion that he'd kill at least 5 people a day during his pirating years. Then, He shows off his true supernatural capabilities when Clover dangles Julian like a carrot on a stick above Mort, causing him to sprint on the water and drag their boat behind him. When Julian's parents return, Julian is thrilled, but the others are not, and Mort suggests they eliminate the parents and make it look like an accident. Apparently, he knows a guy. Everyone finally just asks Mort, what the hell is wrong with him? And he says a lot of stuff before splitting his eyeballs again. When they decide to focus on older hobbies, Mort claims his favorite hobby is making wigs out of stolen hair. Fucking McFuck. Maurice's only hobby is taking care of Julian, who's the closest family he has. Mort interrupts and proclaims that he's outlived all of his relatives. It's like he's flaunting his eeriness at this point. He suddenly forgets Clover even exists for a moment, and then we see into Julian's nightmare. And the second it popped up, I knew what they were doing. I just about died from throwing my body into the wall, aghast with shattered expectations. Nope. No. Nope. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. What?
What? Why are you talking backwards?
You know, this actually makes about as much contextual sense as the work it's based on. So this is directly parodying Twin Peaks, and just when I thought they wouldn't go there, they did exactly that. By the way, I did reverse Mort's speech, and he basically just says here, "Let's do this! From where we come from, there's always mangoes in the air." Reference to something that itself makes sense to the subconscious of maybe a sleep paralysis demon. From what we've seen, I must admit, Mort is the best one for this portrayal. A pineapple even flies by, once again pulling a leftovers by hiding whether or not this fruit spirit is just in his dreams or if it's really a spiritual mystery box. Mort later obsesses over Julian having dreamt of him and calls him a lover. Julian hallucinates Mort getting eaten by a shark, and Mort somehow is aware of this. Can he read minds? Mort helps make Maurice cry just to mock his emotions. Mort brings up that guy who makes people disappear, again, on deaf ears. At this point, we've reached episode 5 of the 3rd season, and Mort's back at it with that glove that makes him aggressive. He sniffs it and laughs evilly, presumably knowing that it will summon his altar like last time. We are met with more and more fourth wall breaks than ever, and Mort severely dislocates his rib and cranks it back into place maniacally. By the way, it's revealed that there's an uprising of sentient bells that plan to reclaim Madagascar from beneath the ground. Apparently, Mort does have experience with zombies, as we jokingly asked before, because in episode 6 he has a tea party with one. In episode 7, Mort romanticizes Julian again and then gets abducted by aliens after praying to the sky gods. Psychic lizard lady uses her telepathy and sees it was just some researchers tracking lemurs. They barcoded Mort. This proves that the lizard truly is magic though, and she can read minds quite clearly, so there is some supernatural in this show. Mort sifts through every personality type we've seen yet while going through this episode. Maybe they were out researching him for his anomalous psychology. They do chip him the following night, and everyone rescues him later, learning that humans exist in the process. So yes, this episode is crucial, but I question why they wear hazmat suits in Madagascar. Mort then eats a bucket of tracking chips, of course. Everyone else hides in the bunker, and when the main characters get back and they cannot find anyone, they think all of the kingdom raptured to the sky god's heavens. The psychic lizard laments about being left behind. This show thinks it's the leftovers again. In episode 8, Mort pretends to be a butterfly so he can start a war by firing mangoes at innocents from the air. Turns out the real butterflies are all psychopaths and were just waiting for a reason to attack, so now they have it. War happens, socio-political commentary, they kill the queen, happy ending, and then finally, we get the next true reveal episode. Sort of. Julian wants fast food for the kingdom. Mort helps out. He claims he was born 5 years premature. His grandmother left him a huge tank of healthy food. He puts on a deep voice that sounds nothing like himself. Actual anti-falsetto headass. It gets crazier. Way crazier. They run out of food, and Julian asks Mort to remember how they can get some more. Mort panics and screams he forgets everything his granny told him because it was 50 years ago. Julian screams, "How old are you?" And then Mort's inner voice, himself, says, "Come on, Mordecai, you can remember," before he suddenly sees his granny. she is the one with the blonde wig, from what I can best tell. He's pulling some sort of Bates Motel altar. He communes with her memory somehow. Julian slaps him and asks who he's talking to. Mort intuits the recipe for fast food and loads a bunch of discarded junk into the food tank and creates food again, but then it becomes a huge metallic black hole of sorts that sucks everyone in until Clover saves them. So we know Mort's granny has some answers to the madness. I need to see more of her, or Smart Mort, to get some true theories going here. Mort wants to eat a scorpion, but his mouth won't open wide enough. He slurps it up anyways. The scorpions crawl out and he consumes them again. It's now episode 10, more political commentary. This one is really trying hard to make itself obvious. Not particularly one way or another, but the show undoes its own lessons and just mocks literally every aspect of various situations through a lens of lemurs. The jokes also have reached the point of being as edgy as Total Drama Island, but slightly more veiled. In episode 11,